And let's see, we have another question. When do you think a brain imaging diagnostic test will be available? Well, there's some estimates that maybe in the next 5 years, because brain imaging is moving very, very quickly. But that's still, of course, up in the air, and that is optimistic, but it might actually come out to be true. Right now, like I said, with the news report, the DTI, which is the newest form of brain imaging, it actually images tracts in the brain, so connections within the brain, and they can see differences as early as 6 months old in babies that later develop autism. So it is moving very quickly and very fast. And our next question is, what is the major cause of autism? Well, there isn't actually known to be one major cause of autism. It's thought to be caused by multiple complex factors. And so right now it seems to be an interaction between genetic and environmental factors. And a lot of those are still unknown. So we can't say that one thing causes autism, because it doesn't. And everybody's form of autism is different. So it seems to be for each person an individual mix of genetic and environmental factors. So with our risk factors, we can give you the evidence, the overall evidence of a linkage for genes to autism, or like with the environmental factors, we have our toxicology pyramid. But these are all general big population trends. They're not a direct cause. So you cannot say that because somebody had advanced paternal age that they are going to have a child with autism. There is no direct link. It's a complex interaction of different factors for everybody. And our next question is, what is brain imaging and what does it mean for people with autism? So if we go back to our Advances tab, and one of the topics here is brain imaging. So we actually go through different types of brain imaging. So you can measure different kinds of things. So you can measure region volume and position. You can measure the connection between different brain regions. You can measure the activity of different brain regions, or even the chemical composition. And each of these has a different technique associated with it. So for instance, MRI will measure the volume and position of different brain areas. So if I click on this box, it expands, and you can read more about MRI if you want to. If you want to learn about measuring connections between brains, you can click on this box here to learn more about DTI. And the activity of a brain area is with the functional MRI, and you can read more about that by clicking the box. Or there's an older technique called EEG that is still very useful today, and it can actually measure the overall brain activity with electrodes on your head. And the fourth one is measuring chemical composition, and if you want to read more about what type of neurotransmitter. So you can actually, there's a brain imaging method called magnetic resonance spectroscopy, or MRS, which can measure the chemical composition. So each of these can be used for different things about an autism brain, and they are currently being used, each of them. And they hopefully will be able to tell us more about how autistic brains develop and can possibly be used for a biomarker. Our next question is, do you have any information on clinical trials? The answer is the Autism Reading Room, we don't have it on live on the production website just yet. It will be part of the therapy section. So right now we're in the process of compiling all of the known therapies for autism and the ones under investigation with the clinical trials. And we'll have a database for parents to go through and to track how effective each of these kinds of therapies are. And really the goal of this is to create some kind of standardization for therapy, because right now people go to the doctor they bring their child to be evaluated, and there's really no standardized care. And so we want to create a database for doctors to turn to look at how other autistic children were treated, and then to see, like, evaluate more big picture, what is the best course of treatment for this child. And not only for clinicians, but for parents too. So we really believe that Autism Reading Room is a resource to empower the parents. And so the more that you know about the science behind autism and autism therapies, the better decisions that you can make as you face these treatment options with your doctors. And so, is there a cure for autism? So right now, no, there is not a cure for autism. There are different treatments, and the most effective one is the behavioral therapy. So the earlier that you can intervene with behavioral therapy, the better off the child will be. But the brain is always plastic, and so this treatment can last throughout the lifetime. But right now there is not a cure. There are some drugs currently being under development in clinical trials, but we do not have one that addresses the core symptoms of autism. We only have ones that address the side symptoms of autism, like the anxiety and so forth. The next question is, the research articles are difficult to read. As more information becomes available, will you explain it on this site? Yes, so on purpose, we didn't just repeat the original stories. We actually, in our news section, we have our scientists translate it into more general language. So let me go back to the news. So although if you are savvy enough, scientifically speaking, you could go directly to the story and read it for yourself. And we feel that it's important for you to be able to do that. But we try to translate it like a short summary that gives you a basic overview in relatively more plain language to help you navigate that. And we pull out the important points. So why is this important? And we put it there for you. Let's look at our next question. I don't think we have any more questions. So I hope all of you found this useful, and I hope you'll use the website in future. And we have new updates coming out every week, actually. So if you come back, you'll see a new news story every week. We have new sections coming, like the therapy section. And we have a parents forum coming soon. So we'll have places for parents to interact with other parents and ask us questions directly. If they want a scientific question answered, they can go there, and that will be coming out soon. So, we have one more question. What does brain plastic mean? Can an autistic brain become less autistic brain? So brain plasticity means that your brain is always changing. And this is very true even for older people. So, for example, stroke victims can usually recover from the stroke with the more physical therapy they do, because their brain can actually be retrained to take over the parts of the brain that no longer work. And this is true throughout life. And so you can actually, with behavioral therapy, go to brain biology. This is where we explain the development of the brain and how there are critical windows of development where the brains are more susceptible to the environment than other times, but the brains can always change. You can always learn new things. You can always learn new languages. It's just that it's easier for a younger brain to be trained. So that's why we say that the earlier you intervene with behavioral therapy for autism, the better the treatment outcome will be. And so with autistic brains, I suppose you could call it less autistic, but really what you're doing is training them how to, I think, cope with their repetitive behaviors and anxiety and become more social. And so I guess you could phrase it that way, becoming less autistic, but really it helps them deal with their their everyday environment. And so let me go to how brains change here. And here we actually go through how brains change, how the regions change, how the cells change, how the synapses change, and how we respond to different events in the outside world. So it says here between 3 and 25% of children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders can recover sufficiently to enter the normal range of social and cognitive abilities. So great. If we don't have any more questions, I'm happy to answer questions outside of the webinar. My email, let me put that up there. Let me show you. My name is Catherine Swanwick again, and you can email me at catherine@mindspec.org. Our Autism Reading Room is also on Facebook, so you can just search for Autism Reading Room and find us there. And we have weekly quiz questions and other updates there. So thank you all for joining us, and I hope you found this useful.